Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 4:34. Sorry, I almost forgot which meeting I was in. On January 15th, 2021. If we could say the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, roll call, Claudia.
I think Angelica's doing that for us.
Yes.
Thank
Allison Pinkett Floyd.
Here.
Ken Marshall.
Here.
Sue Wiggins.
Here.
Okay, so we are meeting today to, can I have a motion to accept the agenda as?
Do you want to do that? We should just note there's no public presentation or discussion. There's nobody that's joined this meeting, and we did not receive anything in advance. So
okay, and we posted it in the 48 hours that's required.
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. I know this was kind of a put together in the last 3 days.
Right.
So,
Thank
okay,
you.
got it. So this meeting is just to discuss a revision to policy U1. Is that correct?
Well, actually, we're not revising the policy. We are making an exception to the policy that the board will vote on. We don't have to revise the policy.
Okay, right, because it's for the time period of.
Right, and I did confirm that with our lawyers. So it's really just a review of extending automatically the renewal period.
Okay, the renewal period. Okay. All right. So how are you phrasing it then, Claudia? Is it an extension of benefits?
You know what? You all have the email that I sent. We have a little bit of background noise. I don't know what that is. It sounds like a lawnmower.
It sounds like a motor. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lawnmower. Anybody have a vacuum cleaner going or a Roomba? Something?
No, I don't.
Wonder if it's coming from my computer.
I would say if you
maybe it's the fan in this computer.
That's good. So if you can
whoever muted it, yeah. Okay.
I didn't do anything.
That's weird. It's coming and going.
I was going to say maybe mute Ken, and then we'll see if.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
If you I was going to say hover over the screen toward the bottom, you'll see. You know what? I can mute you, but boy, I'm going to have to remember. Except now it just went away.
It did go away. That was very weird.
You mute me?
Hi, Mary. Yeah, Ken, I think it's yours now. If you wave, I can unmute you here if need be when you're ready to talk. But did you all have a chance to read the email that I sent out with the information?
Yes.
I think we still need to adopt the agenda officially.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Angelica.
I make a motion
to adopt the agenda
as written.
I'll second.
So I make I ask for the motion, and I need someone on the committee to give me that.
Hold on. Ken?
He's still muted.
2021, just like 2020.
And we did have Jenny Erickson just join us here. So
okay, Ken is still muted because I still have a red microphone on his picture.
I do, and you know what? I'm trying to unmute it and I'm not able to.
He might have to unmute himself because Mary did touch something. So maybe Mary.
I have to show you how to do it.
Can't hear you, Ken. Not yet.
Move your mouse over your picture, Ken, and it should say unmute.
Or try Control A. I think that also does it, depending on your device.
So Jenny, yes, people can attend this meeting. It is open to the public.
But we did just go by the public comments. So
okay, Mary came to the rescue.
Okay, great.
You can hear me? Okay.
Now we can.
Okay.
So I move to adopt the agenda for today's meeting. Ken, you second?
Right.
We need you to second, Ken.
I did. Second.
Okay.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we do. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have
Aye.
to do a roll call vote because it's virtual.
Okay,
you,
got it. Roll
Angelica.
call, please.
Allison Pinkett Floyd,
Yes.
Ken Marshall,
Yes.
Sue Wiggins.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the agenda, so we
Oh,
can.
she just did, yeah, she just
Got
did
it.
the roll call, so, okay.
All right.
So on to the topic. All right.
you.
Why don't I just try to recap and then you can ask questions.
Gotcha.
Our U1 policy, it covers a lot, but I will read the paragraph that we're looking at, and this was what I sent in the email. Library cards for the aforementioned groups are renewed every 3 years without additional fees, provided the library card holder is in good standing and can show proof of address, a current tax bill, or a request on their firm's letterhead.
Okay.
So really, that says you need to bring a piece of paper into the library and prove your residency, and we'll renew your card for another 3 years. Due to the pandemic and to the limited library hours, it's been challenging for patrons and challenging, frankly, for staff. Not that that's the issue, because we're ready to address the challenge, but to follow up on the proof of residency documentation. We'd like to make a temporary exception to this during the pandemic that would allow for an extension of expiration dates that we do globally for all library cards that expired in 2020. And that's a correction. My email to you said 2019, 2020.
Okay.
Pandemic start through 9/30/2021. So it's a year and 9 months, and it's anybody that expired in that period. I'm going to keep going. This is not intended to be a permanent policy change. It's a temporary measure if approved by the board. And I would draw out the similarity to your earlier vote as a board to extend the non-resident fee-paying cardholders by 3 months for the period we were closed. That wasn't a policy change. Your vote was sufficient. What we're talking about here, by the way, is not the non-resident cardholders. These are our Lombard cardholders that are within our taxing district. I did confirm with Roger Ritzman that your board vote and the minutes of the board meeting and the minutes of this meeting are sufficient to understand the board's intent. So we don't have to change the policy and change it back. So this is really going to be a vote, but I want to make sure you understand all of the implications. Couple things. The question came up from Ken when I asked him if he was available for this meeting, and it came up from Jason yesterday when we were going through the board agenda for next week. I thought you could renew online, and you can, but I'm gonna take a minute and share a screen with you if that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Just tell me when you see it.
I see it.
I see it.
I see it.
And I'm just going to show you this screen and step through it. On that right-hand side where you see renew your library card, complete this online renewal form. What we do with that, we take the information, we identify a library number and set aside the card that's associated with it. And we set it up for between 1 and 2 months of expiration. And that gives them time to come in. They still have to show proof of residency. So for example, somebody that's doing that online in January, the patron services staff has to obviously find that or be given that request and follow up on it. They will renew the card. In January, they're renewing through March 1st only and saying, okay, you have the rest of this month and next month to get into the library with a proof of ID. It's been challenging. I know, Ken, you've noticed in our stats, our renewal numbers, our cardholder numbers are dropping. Not everyone has access to digital. Our hours are a little more limited. And what we want to do, and actually Michelle Peterson went through this, we want to do a global all at once. Everybody that expired in 2020 that hasn't yet renewed or will expire through the end of September that does not have outstanding fees or fines, that's a card in good standing, that we automatically set those renewal dates to the end of this year. I will also tell you, Michelle Peterson mentioned today, you can see down here, we're away, email us when we're here in our open hours. It says we're here, chat. They're getting a ton of requests from this new website for card renewals. And Peterson said, people are asking if they can't just, take a picture or a photo of their driver's license and email it to us so they can still have digital access without coming in. Unfortunately, we can't confirm that that email address belongs to that driver's license.
Oh,
So it's not convenient. The other thing, a couple of other notes I'll add. We didn't do the breakdown of how many cards are in good standing versus not. So this is our estimate that this would be about 9,000 card renewals that are up. What are the implications? Our stats might be inflated, but be aware that we're probably compared to other libraries, and a number of libraries are moving toward automatic renewal. That nobody has to renew at any point in time. They're using other ways to purge cardholders that are carried over in the database, which, by the way, is a requirement for us to do for IPLAR and state law. So, for example, Oak Park, Tinley Park, Plainfield, Fountaindale, their cards just automatically renew all the time. So this is something some libraries are doing routinely. We just want to entertain it for this pandemic period where it's more difficult for people to get in here. And this online renewal, it takes some extra administrative steps, and it's a temporary thing. It doesn't buy them 3 years. It buys them a little bit of time to get in here and show an ID. I hope that all made sense. Let me know if you have questions.
I do have a question. So going forward, is this automatic renewal thing something that you're going to be looking at? And then you said there are other ways to purge. I mean, I know we're concerned with the duration of COVID and until things open up and we can renew things the way we always have, but going forward, are we going to be trying an automatic?
We want to, because it feels like good practice, but we're not ready to bring to you, here's how administrative we think we can handle that. Here's the metrics and the measurements we would use. And let me see if I have a note here. What some libraries are using is last active date of a card to purge, to make sure that we're clearing out those old cards that are no longer active. So it's something that's open for discussion, but we have a little more background work to do before we're ready to say, hey, let's change the policy and address this.
Okay.
We're really trying to get to something that ups our service level for our patrons during this pandemic.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with us doing an extension. So I wanted to have the meeting just to make sure the rest of the board, I know we're going to be voting on it next week. It'll be on the agenda next week. So the full board will have a chance to, discuss it and amend it if that's how we're going to go forward. But I wanted the committee to have a chance to put in any questions, any revisions before we send it forward to the rest of the board.
Yeah, I have two. Number one, how was December 31 picked? Was that somewhat arbitrary, far enough down the line that we're hoping COVID will be done, or just because it meshes with the calendar year, or what?
Well, I think part of that, Ken, is if we renew all these cards and say you're all renewed through the end of the year, if we take through 9/30, that means that people in October, November, December whose cards are expiring, we aren't going to get flooded all at once with all the renewals and back in at the same time. It stages it a little bit, not a lot.
The other thing is, are they going to say some of these cards expired in August of 2020, never renewed? Are they going to get an email notice? Do we have software that'll send notices to everybody who has a card that would have expired from January 2, 2020 up to December of 2020?
Not everyone has an email address with us. I can certainly check with Alex and Michelle P to see if that's something we can put out. But what we would do is probably send it out in a newsletter or put a notice on the website so that people would know. It's a good point. I'll check and get an answer back to you. I hope that your decision won't depend on the answer to that, but it's a good point that we would follow up on. Go ahead.
I do think it would be nice to let people know who are in that category of their automatic renewal so that they can then have access to the online electronic, resources.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or start their, reserves on hold. But I don't know, you said it could be 9,000 patrons. I mean, if we had to send a written notice to all those people.
We wouldn't send a written.
I don't like that idea, but no. I do like Ken's idea of trying to at least reaching out by email.
We would do that. And here's the other thing. A lot of times people have no clue when their cards expire. We don't put those little labels on there anymore. So until they go to use it, they don't know it's expired. So that, and when they're getting the message trying to use something digitally that it's expired, that's where we're getting the phone call. Okay, they do the online, we give them 2 months. By the way, all that does take staff time, which is fine, but this is an extremely efficient way, I think, to deliver a high level of customer service. And
I agree.
I think we should take advantage of the fact that this is a decision that you made. You all, when we expanded the non-resident card holders, 3 months because of the closure, the ones who paid the fee. And we were talking about what can we do for our card holders? Well, I feel like this is not the same thing, but it's also something that does make it more convenient for them.
Right. And so then the next time they go to use a library service, it's not a problem because they don't get any notification and it's an automatic thing. So I like I said, I'm fine with it. There is one, Kristen obviously looked over the whatever email you had sent to the full board, and she had one request on the language in the service to patrons with disabilities. She wanted to replace the words "with respect to access by the disabled" and suggest it read "with respect to access by people with disabilities."
That's the right language. And I think that's a minor change. We don't have to.
It certainly is, but I think it's going to come up in the board. So if we're able to change it prior to the full board having it, that was her request.
Why don't we at the meeting I can send an email out to the board that we will also be making this change. I think that counts as not officially, you have to look at the old policy and the new policy because we will be looking at this.
Just a small vision.
Now,
just so that you know that she made a request and I told her I'd pass it along.
Persons with disabilities was the language.
Yeah.
And she's absolutely right.
Access by people with disabilities as opposed to disabled patrons.
She is 100% right. And I would hope that we would have caught that on the policy review, but I'm glad that she did right now because she looked at it. That's good. That is absolutely. If you want, I don't know if you've picked up your board packets, but I will just read to you. I went ahead and put this on the board agenda because I know it's easier, especially virtually, to read the motion and then modify it a little if you need to, but I will give you the reading of it in case you haven't picked up your packets yet. It simply says that the action item is approve extending expiration dates for card holders in good standing to December 31st, 2021 for any Plum library card that expired in 2020 or will be expiring through September 30th, 2021.
That include the non-residents?
No.
As any card.
Well, we can add resident to the
any card. If I lived outside the district, my card is a card.
Right. So approve extending expiration dates for any card holders within Plum Library District.
Okay. I've dropped this meeting twice. Unfortunately, the internet went out. So So I missed the end of the discussion. I don't need for you to repeat it, but there's going to be some way that we're going to notify these people. I think you said it was going to be in the newsletter or Gazette.
No, I said I would turn it, I would actually bring it up with Alex and Michelle, and if they're able to email the specific people, they can do that. Otherwise, we'll use our usual, social newsletter or something on the website. The way we, send things out, I will get marketing on
Okay.
there and they can do it.
Yeah, I would just, if it's going to be in the Gazette or on the website, I would put a little box around it and use like bolded language or something to let people know that's happening.
Absolutely.
Call people's attention to it because, that's right. I renewed my card. Now I don't have to. That's great. I can go back in and start using the library again.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I would also like to see something in the Lombardian about it. Have some favorable publicity out there for us.
We can do that too.
Yeah, that's good.
Then,
Very
Claudia,
good idea.
go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say that's a very good idea. Yeah, get some favorable publicity out there. Even maybe a 4 or 5 sentence.
So let's say
news
when
release.
after you make this initial extension, let's say there's a card holder who's not in good standing, but they come in and they handle whatever they have to handle. Will they automatically go into renewal once their card is back in?
Well, not automatically, but patron services would take the action to extend that on the case-by-case basis. Yeah, we would not. That would be wonderful if you come in and clean up anything outstanding and we get you back on. So, absolutely. And again,
Okay, I was just curious if we had a thought about what to do for people who weren't in the first run, but realized that they still could make or take advantage of it.
well, and if it turns out to be a ton, they could do a second run, based on the decision here. It might be we do one, in January and then another in March or whatever. I just think it's going to go a long way to eliminating a barrier to service and maybe a frustration level.
Right. And as long as we, it's not forever, and we have other ways of purging, or at least we're thinking about other ways of purging non-residents and people who've moved on or left Lombard or no longer use our cards, I guess, for that reason. But yes, so I'm good with the change. And then if anybody else has any other questions or concerns to discuss.
I'm good.
Maybe a 2 or 3 sentence quick press release to the Daily Herald too.
I'll put marketing on it. They'll do their magic.
Otherwise, things.
Okay, so then, oh God, it's so weird being virtual and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I need all my little cues. Okay, so do we need a roll call vote, or do we just make a motion?
Because it's the board is officially going to be the one voting on this. I don't know. Do you usually vote that you're going to recommend to take something to the board?
Yes, we do.
Then a roll call vote. So
okay,
somebody
so
make a motion.
yeah, it doesn't have to be roll call, but it is usually by virtue of the group.
It has to be roll call for virtual meetings.
Got it. Okay, so then yes. All right. Okay, so can I have a motion to forward the extension on policy U1 to the full board at our next board meeting?
So
Do we have a
moved.
motion
So
and a
moved.
second?
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Okay, go ahead, Angelica.
Allison Pinkett Floyd,
Yes.
Ken Marshall,
Yes.
Sue Wiggins.
Yes.
Okay, so then our vote is good, unanimous, and it goes to the full board for discussion next week. Do we have anything else on the agenda, Claudia? I didn't think so. Okay.
I do have a question. Well, I do have a question for all of you.
Before I adjourn?
Before you adjourn, because I know we haven't had a policy meeting in a while, and I know we're finishing up the Serving Our Public 4.0 per capita reviews. Give some thought to how quickly you want to meet. I would say after March, because we're going to pull out a couple policies that need immediate attention, and then try to get a nice schedule. But you don't have to answer today, but think about whether or not you want a regular quarterly meeting, whether give some thought, because I think the other thing we're going to be doing is that procedure that says policy reviewed, even when we don't change it. So we
Right.
put those dates in there saying we had eyes on this. So be thinking about what might work, and you don't have to answer today. Just wanted
Well,
that.
that's okay, but if you have some that need immediate attention and you want an early March, so we should at least try to discuss it a week or so before the March board meeting, if that's when you'd like it at least,
To be presented.
voted on, right?
Yeah.
To be official. So I mean, we could pick a date in March. I don't off the top of my head know when we're meeting again for the full board in March, but
March 10th. It
So
sticks
we're
in my
meeting on
brain
March-
because it's the same as February 10th because of the 28 days, February 10th and March 10th. So we could look at the beginning of March if you want.
So
It
we
might
could look-
be another, it
we
might
would
be
do it
another.
virtually? It would be a virtual meeting?
Well, you know what? If we get to tier 2 in
Mhm.
region 8, we can do an in-person meeting, which is a little easier. So,
Okay.
virtual
Well-
or in person.
Well, let me just say this. If you want it to be earlier in the day, I tutor Monday through Thursday, and Friday is really the only day that I don't have a prior commitment, and I could do it early, like 4:30 or 5. So the other board members or committee members, think about that. If 5 o'clock on a Friday is not a huge inconvenience to you, then nobody has to wait till 7 o'clock on a given night, and we could be done by 6 and home. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about it. That's when I'm available.
And Sue, I have your availability too. I know you've got a tight schedule. So
Fridays, I'm generally with my mom until 2 or 2-ish. So 4:30 on Fridays is good for me.
Sounds good to me too.
Okay, so we could make that happen.
All right.
For that Friday, whatever that first week of March is, Claudia. So if it works for you, then the committee could meet and we could definitely hear whatever policies. And then after that, we can decide what schedule to go with. But Monday through Thursday, I'm usually tied up.
I think that'd be
Okay.
March 4th.
Oh, I have March 5th.
Oh, March 5th? Okay.
It is the 5th. It's the 5th.
Okay,
Okay, sorry, I had to stand
That's
up.
okay, that's fine.
See my calendar. All right, we will plan a March 5th meeting and pull out like the most urgent policy that I think, or 2, and probably not till February. I probably won't be sending you those things to look at.
Okay. No worries, but I'll schedule that we'll have a meeting. I'll put it on my calendar.
Thank you. And Angelica will help us track it here and get it on the website.
You will. Thank God for that. All right. Meeting adjourned then.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Adjourn that,
weekend.
you got the time?
Good
5:02.
night. Oh, yes.
Thank
at
you. Have a
5:02
wonderful
PM.
weekend.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Have a good weekend.